politics, demonizing ideological differences, because to them, if you support President Trump, well, it's not just a political choice. It's a mortal sin for which there is no forgiveness, ever. Now, in moments, we're going to show you how our own Judge Hannity was literally shouted down face to face by some of the Trump-hating ladies of The View, and she will give us the ugly behind-the-scenes story. Plus, we have the very latest absurd, shark-jumping, psychotic rhetoric from the left, their never-ending obsession on Russia. And meanwhile, the president, the administration now facing many complex issues all around the world. And today, the FBI director, Ray, he warned that China, not Russia, was the single most significant threat to the United States. Now, tonight, we'll do something the mainstream media won't do. We'll show you how the president is actually countering China with a policy of peace through strength. Now, we also have tonight a shocking story out of the state of California. The sanctuary city of San Francisco is now allowing illegal immigrants to vote in elections. I didn't make that up. We have an important new report on deep state actor Peter Strzok from John Solomon. All of that, plus the president said he will be Putin's worst enemy if their relationship does not work out, and that Obama was a patsy for Putin. Buckle up. It's time for tonight's breaking news, multi-pronged opening monologue. All right, the Democrats' election playbook is now in full swing. According to the left, if you support Donald Trump or you have conservative opinions, you're no longer a decent human being. Instead, well, according to them, you're xenophobic, Islamophobic, homophobic, racist, sexist, misogynist. You want dirty air, you want dirty water. You definitely want to take grandma and throw her right over the cliff. And by the way, you want children to die. Oh, and by the way, we are the smelly Walmart shoppers, the irredeemable deplorables. You know, we're the people that cling to our God, our guns, our Bibles, and religion. Now, this is especially true during the age of Trump. Now, we've seen the president's allies kicked out of restaurants, shouted down on the street, harassed in front of their own homes, front yards, and the most vicious attacks, even against women and even against the president's children and grandchildren. So it's no surprise that our own Judge Hannity was not warmly welcomed during her guest appearance on The View on ABC. By the way, Disney, are you proud of this? Take a look.
Here's my question for you, because you talk about.
I am not, Judge.
Nobody is.
Oh, yeah.
Did you just point at me?
Yes.
Listen, I don't have Trump derangement. There have been a lot of people in office that I didn't agree with, but I have never, ever seen anything like this. I've never seen anybody whip up such hate. I've never seen anybody be so dismissive. How long has the deep state been there, and who's running it?
Well, I want to answer your question, because you had
you a question.
You had your opening statement, which was how horrible it is that Donald Trump is talking about all of these people.
Sorry, you know what? That's what you said. You said.
But you know what's horrible?
That
when people who shouldn't be here end up murdering the children of American citizens.
You know what's horrible? When the president of the United States whips up people to beat the hell out of people. Say goodbye.
All right, so I spoke with Judge Pirro right after that appearance. It got much worse backstage, and she will join us tonight in just a moment with a lot more. And, of course, for the entire week, the left's anti-Trump echo chamber has been on super duper high alert. Now, the president's meeting with Vladimir Putin has been compared, let's see, to the Holocaust, Pearl Harbor, 9/11, and the rhetoric has been absolutely psychotic. Front page of The New Yorker, look at this, featuring a cartoon showing a dead President Trump face down at the bottom of an escalator. Great, his kids have to see that. His grandkids have to see that. And Time magazine featuring this ominous-looking Putin-Trump hybrid. And by the way, on TV, over just the past 24 hours alone, not the earlier 48 hours, the anti-Trump hysteria is even worse. They're all in a state of panic. The economy's doing well. We're safer than we've been. And they know they're going to lose the next election. They're scared. Take a look.
Did the president share classified information with Putin? Did the president take other steps beyond those that he took so publicly to undermine the security of the United States?
This president is very happy making himself a client of Vladimir Putin. Who knows what they talked about behind closed doors?
He's aiding and abetting the enemy.
I can't believe this is something I'm saying about the President of the United States, but it made me wonder if people are suspicious that he revealed sensitive classified intelligence, including human source information, to the President of the Russian Federation.
What Putin does is exactly what Trump does, or what Trump does is what Putin does, which is they lie for a living.
I'm about as shaky as I have felt since the night he won. Back then, my biggest fear was we had elected an asset of the Russian government who would sell out America at every opportunity just to save his own hide. My biggest fear now is that I was right.
All right, despite what you just saw, President Trump has a long track record countering the malicious actions of Vladimir Putin, something that President Obama did not have. Now, the president armed Ukraine. He increased sanctions on Russia. He increased funding at NATO. He slapped severe financial restrictions on some of Vladimir Putin's closest allies. He authorized a counterattack as Putin was backing soldiers inside of Syria, killing hundreds of Russians. And remember the hostile takeover in Crimea, in Ukraine? Well, Putin's power grab in Syria and all this election meddling you're hearing so much about, it all happened on Obama's watch. He was the president. Just like giving Putin 20% of America's uranium, that was on Obama's watch. So the foundational material for nuclear weapons was given to Putin and Russia, the bad actor, the hostile regime, while Obama was president. Nobody in the media mentioned this all week. Now, you think you'll hear about this if you turn on conspiracy TV, MSNBC, fake news, CNN? I tend to doubt it. So today, President Trump, once again, he reiterated his commitment to countering Putin. He issued a very stern warning. This is what we call peace through strength. Judge for yourself. Take a look.
Look at the sanctions I've put on. Look at the diplomats I threw out. Look at all of the things that I've done. Nobody else did what I've done. Obama didn't do it. Obama was a patsy for Russia. He was a total patsy. Look at the statement he made where he thought the mics were turned off, okay? The stupid statement he made. Nobody does a big deal about that. Getting along with President Putin, getting along with Russia is a positive, not a negative. Right. Now, with that being said, if that doesn't work out, I'll be the worst enemy he's ever had.
That doesn't work out, you'll be the worst enemy he's ever had. But for the sake of the world, our kids, let's hope it works out. And while the media is obsessing about Russia, 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 I'd like to remind these so-called journalists that it's a very big world out there. There's a lot of complex issues in this world, and maybe, just maybe, Russia isn't even our biggest international foe. Now let's listen to what the FBI Director Christopher Wray said yesterday.
China, from a counterintelligence perspective, in many ways represents the broadest, most challenging, most significant threat we face as a country. And I say that because for them, it is a whole of state effort. It is economic espionage as well as traditional espionage. It is non-traditional collectors as well as traditional intelligence operatives. It's human sources as well as cyber means. We have economic espionage investigations in every state, all 50 states, that trace back to China.
That's right, China, not Russia. All right, someone may want to tell the left in this country that there's more to life than Vladimir Putin. So why isn't the media obsessing about the China threat? Where's the hysteria over Chinese hacking and aggressive military actions in the Pacific, currency manipulation, theft of intellectual property? While the left is spinning out of control over Russia, well, right here on Hannity, we report the full story. President Trump is keenly aware that the geopolitical threat that is posed by all of these bad actors, including China, and has long called them out in a very public way. Take a look.
Just remember, we're the bank. We're the bank that everybody wants to steal from and plunder. And it can't be that way anymore. We lost $500 billion last year with China. We are going to end the theft of American intellectual property, crack down on China's trade abuses, and confront countries that cheat. I also had a very candid conversation with President Xi about the need to reduce our staggering trade deficit with China and for our trading relationship to be conducted on a truly fair and equitable basis. We can no longer tolerate unfair trading practices that steal American jobs, wealth, and intellectual property.
And as usual, the president's words are backed up with tough action, crippling tariffs, upgrading missile defense systems to China's neighbors, reaffirming America's commitments to Taiwan, and turning the screws on North Korea. We'll have more on the president and the president's geopolitical peace through strength strategy throughout the show tonight. But first, we've got to turn to a very shocking story. It should make your blood boil. You know, the sanctuary city of San Francisco, they're now spitting in the face of every single law-abiding American tonight. City officials are now permitting illegal immigrants, other non-citizens, to register to vote in November's election. That's right. You can't make this up. They're allowing this. Barring any future legal action, illegal immigrants will now be among those in San Francisco who get to vote in certain local elections. Now, this is just one more obvious sign that the left in this country, they don't care about the rule of law, our Constitution, about the rights of the many. They don't believe in borders. They have no agenda to improve America. Instead, they want to regain power at all costs. Well, for 2018, it's simple. They want their crumbs back. They want to rescind the tax cuts. They want to impeach Trump, but they're trying to tell everybody not to say it publicly. They want to preserve Obama's legacy, keep your doctor plan and pay less. They want Obamacare to stay. They want to block the president's Supreme Court choices and the confirmation of Justice Kavanaugh. And that's right. You can see it. They want open borders also. They're not proposing one thing that'll solve any problem for any American citizen. It is without a doubt the most important midterm election in our lifetime. The future of this country is at stake. They want to undo the 2016 election. And finally tonight, we do have a breaking news story from John Solomon. He's highlighting an underreported text from the corrupt FBI investigator Peter Strzok to his girlfriend Lisa Page. Now, the text reads, "An investigation leading to impeachment? You and I both know the odds are nothing." And Strzok goes on and he says, quote, "There's no big there." Now, the timing of this text is incredibly telling. It's just 2 days after Robert Mueller was appointed to conduct this witch hunt on Trump-Russia collusion. And according to Solomon, while Peter Strzok refused to answer what this text was referring to, Lisa Page, behind closed doors, did in fact confirm that the text referred to the quality of the Russia case that he was leading. So there's no big there, and there never was. And here we are 428 days later, millions of dollars later. This never-ending divide and fishing expedition rolls on. Show us the evidence, Mr. Mueller, and your pit bull, Andrew Weissman. Why did you ever appoint a guy that had that much corruption in his background? Really? Withholding exculpatory evidence, beaten 9-0 in the Supreme Court, sending innocent people to jail for a year, overturned by the Fifth Circuit, tens of thousands of Americans lost their job. He's your number one guy? Really? And then you can't find a single Republican to put on your team? Not one? Just a merry band of Hillary supporters and Democratic donors. All right, here with more from the Hill is John Solomon. John, big story.
Yeah, Sean, I think what's important here is that the evidence in this case has been produced episodically to Congress. You get a paper blizzard, then you get a single witness, then you get a few documents they forgot to give you, then another witness. And what's happened over the last couple of weeks is Congress has gone back and reassembled the evidence and looked back. One of the questions they're trying to answer is there actions that were taken that clearly could be attributed to political bias or political influence? And this discussion that you just highlighted has become very important. They have now confirmed, they put all the text messages and emails in that period of mid-May, and they see a discussion going on between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page in which they're debating, should we stay in the FBI and go punch our ticket up the elevator to assistant director, or should we go over and try to get President Trump impeached at the special counsel level? And they get into this discussion. At some point, they actually say, maybe we should stop this discussion, but they keep going anyways. And that famous statement is uttered. There's no there. We don't need to really go over there because there's no there. I mean, there's not going to be a big crime found there. And I think that's essential because it's one of 5 sort of things that they did that defy the normal investigative work they do.
Yeah, well, and on top of that, they were writing an exoneration of Hillary before they investigated. But let's go back to this. So Lisa Page, and this didn't get so much news because the media only focuses on one story at a time, and it's a story that they have focused on for 2 years with no evidence. And my question is, so Lisa Page is contradicting what Peter Strzok said under oath. And that would mean he lied under oath. if she's telling us that what it seems like it reads was what they meant, which he denied.
Yeah, so the most important thing is that Peter Strzok testified he didn't believe any of his political biases affected his actions. She's not contradicting that. She's just giving a factual statement. Yeah, we were talking about Russia there. Yeah, we were talking about special counsel. So you now know for sure that's what they were talking about. I think the most important things going on is that, let's take a look at the 5 things that we now know they did that defy their training. They accepted circular intelligence. They knew everything was coming from a Hillary Clinton-funded dossier, but it made it look like it was coming from multiple sources. 2 weeks before the election, they had the hurry the F up pressure, remember, trying to force through a warrant on the Trump campaign before the election's over. The day after the election, they make an all call. We need all derogatory reports on the Trump campaign. Let's start collecting them. The day after he's elected. And then you get to this point in May where they're about to turn the case over and they're allowing the Justice Department to appoint the special prosecutor, encouraging it, and they kind of know it's flimsy evidence. All of these things suggest that they aren't going by their normal training, their normal behavior as counterintelligence agents, and that's why this question of political bias is going to get answered soon.
And to sum it up, they used their power. They tried to steal, in a way, the presidential election by favoring one candidate over another candidate and letting one candidate that should have been indicted go and then turning everything they had, their screws on the other. All right, John Solomon, great reporting into Hill. Joining us now, the host of Michelle Malkin Investigates. It's on CRTV. Michelle Malkin, former Secret Service agent, NRA TV contributor Dan Bongino. Let's go over, shall we, Michelle? I love truth and history, and I know you do. Uranium One, that happened under President Obama's watch, right? And that's 20% of America's uranium, the foundational material for nuclear weapons. The interference and meddling in the 2016 election, that happened under Obama. Crimea happened under Obama. Ukraine happened under Obama. And the Syria red line was crossed also under Obama. How come the media didn't care about any of this?
Because they suffer from selective sovereignty syndrome. They only care about foreign meddling and foreign conflicts when there's a president with an R by his name, and especially when that R comes in the word Trump, T-R-U-M-P. And you can go all the way back to the Clinton years and Chinagate and the dangerous national security implications of all of the campaign contributions that were coming in from shady characters all the way back then. And who was it that was sounding the alarm about all of those scandals? Well, it wasn't the New York Slimes and it wasn't the Washington Compost. They were too busy printing all of the condemnations from people blowing the whistle on it and referring to them as xenophobic and racist, which is what you talked about in your monologue. This is the classic left-wing playbook of attacking the messenger. And it's a huge cloud, smoke and mirrors to distract from the fact that these people are absolutely treasonous hypocrites. They can scream treason as loud as they want to, but the facts and the history speak for itself.
And the other thing is the president was stronger on Russia the whole time. And I was glad the president went out today and said, no, it was actually Obama that was the patsy for Putin. And I don't think there's anybody in the world that doubts that if Putin wants to get aggressive with Donald Trump as president, it's not going to be the same as when Obama was president. He's not going to take Putin's crap. The idea that people think otherwise, it just shows that there's nothing Trump can do. He could cure cancer, Dan Bongino, at this point, and they still hate him.
Sean, he's already been tougher on the Russians. You know, Sean, I know you're tired of this too. I'm kind of like tired of being tired of it. But Michelle just pointed out so many abominations under the Clinton-Obama regime. I mean, Sean, what about the $500,000 payment from the Russian bank to the Clinton Foundation, the Russian bank that, by the way, was associated with the Kremlin? You know, what about the Bill Clinton trip to Kazakhstan? I mean, they forget all of this stuff that actually happened, and then what Trump actually did, they ignore. Talking about the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, fighting for American natural gas interests over the Russian interests. You think Putin likes that? You know, again, under the Trump administration, wiping out the Russian mercs in Syria. Sean, this stuff actually happened. The media pays no attention because they're pathetic. They're not even the media. They're strictly a propaganda arm for the Democrat Party. Let's stop pretending they're reasonable people.
Michelle, weigh in.
Yeah, I just want to add something because it is so galling and unconscionable for these media outlets now to fashion themselves the champions of our intelligence agencies. They want you to forget that during the Bush administration, it was 2 New York Times journalists who tipped off Muslim charities, the Global Relief Foundation and the Holy Land Foundation, designated terrorist finance organizations to raids that were about to happen. The U.S. Attorney at the time, Patrick Fitzgerald, condemned those leaks and those publications of that dangerous information because it directly impacted and affected those agents that were executing the raids. These are the same people, the New York Slimes, that blabbed about releasing and revealing the identities of CIA interrogators, including the one who interrogated KSM, again, endangering these intelligence agents and ignoring the entreaties of top officials who were telling them not to do this in the name of national security. They didn't care then, and they don't care now.
Last word, Dan.
Yeah, and last night, Sean, the New York Times again, to double down on what Michelle said. What did they do? They leaked that there's a source close to Putin that's been feeding them information. Nice job, New York Times, outing probably one of our best intelligence sources to try to put egg on the face of Donald Trump. You goofballs. Nice job. Well done,
the
you
treason
idiots.
times.
Yeah.
Treason times.
Damn right.
Scary times, too. All right, thank you both. When we come back, all right, it's so bad that Trump derangement syndrome is so out of control, Judge Jeanine got thrown off the set of The View earlier today, and what happened after is even worse. She'll tell us all about it straight ahead. All right, earlier today, things got very heated on The View when Whoopi Goldberg rudely ended a segment with our own Judge Jeanine Pirro, threw her off the set. Take a look.
There have been a lot of people in office that I didn't agree with, but I have never, ever seen anything like this. I've never seen anybody whip up such hate. I've never seen anybody be so dismissive. How long has the deep state been there, and who's running it?
Well, I want to answer your question because you had
you a question.
You had your opening statement, which was how horrible it is that Donald Trump is talking about all of these people.
Sorry,
you know what
that's
I
what
think
you
is
said.
horrible?
You said,
Whoopi, you know what's horrible?
That
when people who shouldn't be here end up murdering the children of American citizens.
You know what's horrible?
What's horrible
when the president of the United States whips up people to beat the hell out of people.
No.
Say goodbye.
All right, here now is the author of the brand new book. It's Liars, Leakers, Liberals, the case against the anti-Trump conspiracy. You see her every Saturday night, 9 Eastern, right here on Fox. Hello, Judge Jeanine Pirro. Anything going on in your life today?
You know, I'll tell you, Sean, I got an invitation to go on The View to talk about my new book, Liars, Leakers, and Liberals. And I accepted the invitation. I was happy to respond to their request. There was one segment which I thought was rather civil. I mean, they clearly are of a particular bent. But it was in the second segment that you just played where I literally was thrown off the set. Whoopi Goldberg, basically said, I'm done. She pulled the plug off and walked away. But it didn't end there, Sean. And I think the sad part about all this is that, I said in the first segment, we need to start talking to each other. We need to start having a conversation. People who ostensibly hate each other. And the irony is that I said that about 2 minutes before she started. And I just felt that today was a microcosm of what is happening in America as the left suffers from this Trump derangement syndrome, shuts the right down, doesn't allow you to talk. She asked me a question and then yells at me, yells about Donald Trump, yells about, and when I try to answer, she continued to yell. But it didn't end there, Sean. What happened was I realized the segment was over. I got up. And I just started, I left the stage going downstairs, and I saw her, and I had to walk by her, and I said, Whoopi, I fought for victims my whole life, something like that. And she started cursing at me.
What did she say? Tell everybody what she said without saying it.
She said,
blank you.
F you. F you. And I said, Whoopi, did you just say F you? I mean, she was right here. And then she said, get the F out of this building. And she yelled at me again, get the F out of this building. And I felt like I was less than dirt. I couldn't believe that I went there to have a conversation. I got thrown off the set, thrown out of the building. And as I walked away, she's yelling at me, get the F out of this building. Sean, it's sad. What these people have turned into is sad. What is happening?
Well, what's happening is they can't handle that they lost. They can't seem to handle that the world's changed. The worst part, I think, for those on the left is that the president's success is causing them to go even more insane. Because remember, there was supposed to be this big blue tidal wave, but the economy is setting record numbers. I can't wait till the end of next week. I think we get second quarter GDP. Estimates are it's going to be pretty good, maybe even as high as 4%. Right. Which, you know, Barack Obama never had in 8 years of his presidency. 13 million more Americans on food stamps, 8 million more in poverty. Yeah. And the president's getting results. But there's no doubt it's a divided country. I've known Whoopi for years. I've watched the show. Frankly, it's become unwatchable. The ratings are way, way down from what it used to be. And the fact that they can't have a civil conversation with you is part of the reason.
Well, you know, Sean, I have co-hosted that show in the past. And during the break between the first and second segment, I looked over at Whoopi and I said, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while. And I said, you know, are you still doing something that we used to do together? And she said no. And then I turned to Anna Navarro from CNN. No one told me someone from CNN was going to be a host, which I thought was kind of fascinating.
I hope you said fake news.
And, you know, I tried a conversation to have and all of a sudden, when we came back into the second block, it was all hell broke loose. And I have to tell you, Sean, we deserve better. We deserve better than to be berated because we may support the president.
Judge, look at what happened to Pam Bondi, Secretary Nielsen, Sarah Sanders. Yep. Look at the covers that I just showed our audience in my opening monologue tonight. Severed heads, dead presidents at the end of escalators now. The left is unhinged. They don't have a plan to offer the American people. All they have is innuendo, name calling, the typical playbook, racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic. They don't have any agenda to improve the lives of people. But it's not a good time to be a Democrat.
The scary part is people are going to think this is normal. You know, I wasn't just in a restaurant. I was invited to go there and speak. This is where people start to copy what other people are doing. And what Americans
It's getting dangerous out there. Yeah. It's getting dangerous for a lot of people. Everybody needs to take a deep breath. And you know what? There's an election coming up. Focus on the next election.
Right. And
Focus on your candidate, and maybe I don't even want, don't change. Just keep being as dumb as they are. That'll be perfect. All right, Judge, I'm sorry you went through that. Thanks for sharing it. You didn't deserve it. By the way, the book, Liars, Leakers, and Liberals, is out in bookstores. Anyway, when we come back, President Trump loving that Joe Biden, crazy Uncle Joe, might run against him in 2020. I happen to be all for it. We got Jesse Waters and Jessica Tarlov. Who will win tonight's It's Your World? Straight ahead. Some good news tonight. Crazy Uncle Joe Biden. He might be setting his sights on running for president in 2020. According to reports, Joe Biden says he will decide whether he's running for president by January. Now, President Trump responded to Biden's possible run on CBS Evening News. Let's take a look.
Let me ask you about 2020. Who do you think your Democratic opponent will be? Joe Biden says he'll make a decision by January.
Well, I dream about Biden. That's a dream. Look, Joe Biden ran 3 times. He never got more than 1%. And President Obama took him out of the garbage heap, and everybody was shocked that he did. I'd love to have it be Biden.
Yeah, he can run on Obama's failed record. if crazy Uncle Joe does decide to run against Trump, it would be interesting. Let's take a look at some of his, well, proudest moments.
My mother believed and my father believed that if I wanted to be president of the United States, I could be vice president. His mom lived in Long Island for 10 years or so. God rest her soul. And although your mom's still alive as your dad passed. God bless her soul.
Chuck Graham, state senator's here. Chuck, stand up. Chuck, let him see you. Oh, God love you. What am I talking about?
A man who will be the next president of the United States, Barack America.
In Delaware, the largest growth in population is Indian Americans moving from India. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
What kind of a chance would a northeastern liberal like Joe Biden stand in the South?
Better than anybody else. And you don't know my state. My state was a slave state. My state is a border state. My state is the 8th largest black population in the country.
You got the first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
First mainstream African American that's clean, articulate. My state's a slave state. Oh, you can't go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. Here's the reaction. The co-host of The Five. He's got two shows. The host of Waters World, Jesse Waters, Fox News contributor Jessica Tarlov. Okay, Jessica.
Okay.
Imagine any Republican said those really dumb things. What would your side, or how would your side react?
The same way that we did when Donald Trump said things like that, and he ended up getting elected.
We're talking about
so
Donald
I guess
Trump.
Joe Biden will be just fine.
Joe, crazy Uncle Joe.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, I've heard that. I mean, frankly, some of those gaffes aren't terrible at all. They're just misspeaking. He's been in politics 30, 40 years now. There's obviously going to be things on tape that would be embarrassing, as it were, but I don't think that has any bearing on what how he would do in 2020 running against a Donald Trump. We could run reels for hours and hours of President Trump.
He can run on his record. By the way, Jesse, the record speaks for itself. Let's see, 13 million more Americans on food stamps, lowest labor participation rate since the 70s. You have 8 million more Americans in poverty after 8 years, the worst recovery since the 40s, lowest home ownership in 51 years. Now we'll compare that to the Trump economy, and how's that going to work out?
I mean, Donald Trump has a better record, he has a better economy, and he has better hair than Joe Biden. I mean, Joe
Biden actually has great hair.
I'm not so sure. Joe Biden's a gaffe machine. He's got no base. He's got no money. He's got no crowd size. And he's a straight white male, which is a little too much privilege for the Democratic Party. I don't know if they're going to be able to handle that. Plus, the guy's a little creepy. Ever see those videos where he's doing the massages and the whispering with the young women?
A lot of those are doctored.
The minute Donald Trump retweets that video, game over. Creepy Uncle Joe, good night. So I don't think he stands a chance.
All right, I'm going to start a new quiz section of the Jessica segment, all right? Now, put your hand up if you know the answer.
Okay.
Uranium One happened under which administration? Was it Obama or Trump? Jesse.
Obama.
Okay, what about the Russian?
What about the Russia?
The Russia meddling and interference, did that happen under Trump or Obama?
Barack Obama.
I feel like you guys are playing a game by yourselves.
What about Crimea and the Ukraine? Hang on, Crimea. We're playing a game. Crimea and Ukraine. Trump or Obama?
Hate to do it, Barack Obama.
Oh, what about the reset button? They handed the little button over through Hillary to Russia. When did that happen?
Crooked Hillary under Barack Obama.
And what about who said to Dmitry Medvedev, something wrong, Jessica? Who said to Dmitry Medvedev, who said, I'll have a little more flexibility after elections? Tell Vladimir.
I think that was Barack Hussein Obama himself.
Oh, it's nice you threw in the middle name there.
I just wanted to be thorough.
Who's been tougher on Russia, Obama or Trump?
Oh, wait, you have to say the other name.
Donald J. Trump.
Donald J. Trump. Jessica, I'm just trying to understand your side's freak out. Help us out. Because all this happened under Obama's watch.
Oh, I mean, Afrika.
Jesse gets an A+ for getting every answer right.
That is totally stunning to me.
Thank you. I deserve it.
And because I won last time, I know you really needed that for your ego here.
Yeah, I got sick of winning.
First of all,
but the meddling happened under Obama.
The
meddling
did
happened with John
happen
Brennan.
under Obama, and Democrats have been critical of how the Obama administration handled that. But the President of the United States of America today, Donald J. Trump, as you like to call him, stood up there next to Vladimir Putin and said that he didn't meddle in the election, which everyone knows that he did.
No, I actually played on the air last night. You got to pay close attention to the show because, I played at least 7 separate instances where he said Russia did meddle in the elections. He said it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so it's not something that he had not said previously many times before.
Okay, so it was the 7 times he received the classified information even before his inauguration day that the Russians had meddled in the election. For all 7 times that he had said that, and they were pretty waffly anyway, he said it, right, hundreds of times that they didn't. He says it's a witch hunt. It's not a witch hunt. Also, why are you laughing, Jesse? You got to say like Barack Obama.
I'm just laughing because you guys are so tough on Russia. Russia ran wild under Barack Hussein Obama. You guys did nothing until little Hillary got embarrassed with some emails that came out about Chelsea and her wedding. Please, you guys are not tough. You think global warming is more of a threat than terrorism. You're afraid to pour water on terrorists' heads. You guys have done nothing on Russia, and now you complain because it's an excuse for losing the election. You know what really cost her the election? She fainted. She was a terrible candidate. She didn't go to Wisconsin, and she called half the country deplorable. I think that had a little bit more to do with losing.
I want you to know, so Jessica, the last time we were together, got her first win. Jesse now has come back and has won 100-0. That's never happened.
No, it's really fair.
Let's tell everybody where Jessica was last week. Remember?
It's now back to Jesse's world.
I went to the semifinals of the World Cup in St. Petersburg.
The first time we've ever had a perfect score goes to Jesse Waters.
This is insane.
Sorry. Maybe next time.
Thank you.
All right. Maybe next time. All right. Good to see you both. Still to come, there's probably no one else out there in the world that knows more about the hatred of the media that they have for Donald Trump than Sean Spicer. He joins us next. Straight ahead. And that they're not interested in journalism. All they seem to care about is destroying Trump, delegitimizing his presidency, and going after, as we saw with Judge Jeanine, anybody that likes the president. Watch this.
Can we still call President Trump the leader of the free world? Can we still call him the leader of the United States?
It's just as serious to me as the Cuban Missile Crisis in terms of an attack or the 9/11 attack. His performance today will live in infamy as much as the Pearl Harbor attack or Kristallnacht.
When do we see almost a shadow government come out and say we cannot side with the government, whether it's the cabinet or the Senate?
Trump has been a problem, as I say, and now I feel it's a crisis of real urgency. And I'm not sure what we can do except try to contain him in various ways.
The definition it meets is the first word of the impeachment article in the Constitution, which is treason, bribery, and high crimes of misdemeanors.
You had a one-word reaction to what you saw yesterday. Treason.
Treason, yeah.
All right, here with reaction, author of the brand new book. It's out this week. The Briefing Politics, the press and the president, former White House press secretary Sean Spicer. You know, look, you live this every day for a while. And I told you at the time, I don't know why you do that job. I think Sarah Sanders, I said the same thing to her. And I did see her briefly in Helsinki. One particular case, all of the meddling and interference happened under Obama. Uranium One happened under Obama. Crimea, Ukraine happened under Obama. The Syria red line happened under Obama. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, they've lost all sense of any objectivity. What do you think it is?
Well, I think clearly they have a problem. They thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win the election. They were wrong. And now they will refuse to give President Trump the credit he deserves in each of the areas, whether it's the economic policy, foreign policy, or what have you. No matter how good the president does, no matter how he reshapes the judiciary, deregulates the regulatory state, it's never good enough. There's always a problem. I talk about this extensively in the book, how we face that headwind on every single issue, no matter what we did. And it was throughout the campaign, and it started on day one. It was literally the press trying to delegitimize the president, to find a way to go into that Oval Office and say, well, there's something wrong. They falsely accused the president of taking the bust out of the Oval Office of Martin Luther King. I mean, and that's throughout my entire book. Part of the reason that I wanted to write this book, Sean, was to make people understand the headwinds that we faced every day in terms of this administration and this president.
You know, you've had a very interesting life and background in your family. Actually, you grew up in Rhode Island, which surprised me, right?
Well, I didn't. I think I did.
It was interesting. And the thing is, and you served your country, and then you go into battle with this group of people that just want to destroy you every single day. What do you take out of it? What do you learn? I know what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, and I can give you every cliche, but you still live it.
Well, I think, number one, you're right. It makes us stronger. It makes us better and better conservatives, in my case. I think that you have to refine your argument. You have to be stronger and smarter and constantly thinking, because you're right. They come at you.